Okay, let's go ahead and wrap up our lecture on marine fishes. So in the last one we were talking about marine fish and their body style, how that kind of determines their body shape, and that determines their lifestyle, swimming patterns, the importance of their gills for oxygenation, how they feed, the digestive system, and then the circulatory nervous system. We left off with reproduction, talking a little bit about reproduction in marine fish, and that, they're, for the most part, they're producing eggs and sperm, and they're broadcast spawning, and they're internalizing, or internal fertilization occurs in some. Now, what gets interesting with marine fish is some of them have this sex reversal scenario. So some of the fish start out as one gender, and then they turn into another. So this protandry is when the fish start as a male and turn into a female. All right, so male and into the female. So when they're born, they're all males. And then what you'll see is the dominant male morphs into a female. And then that is the breeding female who mates with the next dominant male. So this is going to ruin Finding Nemo for you guys. But what would have really happened in Finding Nemo is when Nemo's mom died, she got eaten. So she was a dominant female. Nemo's dad was a dominant male. Nemo and all the eggs would have hatched out into males. So mom dies. So you're left with a dominant male and no female. So what would have happened here is Nemo's dad would have morphed into a female. Give him a little lipstick here. Make some earrings. And how about some long hair? So Nemo's dad would have morphed into a female. Nemo would have morphed into the dominant male. He would have gotten a lot bigger. And then Nemo would have mated with his dad, who now is a female, and I guess you'd say his spouse. So it gets kind of freaky when you look at fish that go through protandry. The other option is this thing called protogamy, and this is where you have fish that start out as females and they morph into males. They change their sex. So a lot of times that change is driven by it's driven by hormones, driven by social structure, things of that nature. There are very few fish that are actually hermaphroditic. The hamlets are hermaphroditic, so we'll see some of those guys. But most fish, male or female, again, some of them got this weird scenario going on where they're actually changing their genders. But let's assume the majority of the fish we look at are normal. They're male, they're female, they pair up. They either broadcast spawn, or the internal fertilization. Now, the ones that do internal fertilization, the sperm is transferred to the female. The male clasper transfers the sperm to the cloaca on the female, and then the female develops the egg. Now, what will occur here sometimes is as she's developing the egg, she's going to do something with that egg as it develops. So there's a group of fish known as viviparous, and this is when the young are born live. So the female gives birth to live young. Oviparous are when the female will spawn eggs. And ovoviviparous, try to say that really fast a lot of times. This is when the eggs are kept within the female and hatch before being released. Okay, so they're actually live inside of mom, swimming around inside of mom's uterus. Now the crazy one are these tiger sharks here. So what will happen here with tiger sharks is mom's going to have a bunch of eggs that get fertilized. The first ones that hatch out inside of her start eating their, give them some teeth here, eating their, can't recall them nest mates, their uterus mates. They start eating the other eggs that are sitting inside of mom's uterus. So the strongest, dominant tiger shark pup, that's what we call the little developing fish, the pup eats the others. And then mom gives birth, live birth to a very, very strong, aggressive tiger shark. All right. So now when we're looking at fish reproduction, generally what we're going to see is that reproduction occurs once fertilization happens. Fertilization can happen externally, and this is usually through spawning, and it can happen internally, and that's where claspers to transfer sperm to cloaca in the female reproductive tract. Okay, so now she's got that. And what we're going to see happen there, though, is, if it's external fertilization, let me come back up here. With spawning, eggs get fertilized. There's usually minimal parental care. It's not like they're taking care of them. A few fish will protect the eggs and guard the nest. So sometimes some fish do that, but most of the time, especially if you're broadcast spawning, it's just there it goes in the water and let's see what happens. So things like damselfish, they'll defend the nest. They'll actually attack us. They'll attack swimmers. Now, damselfish only get about 3 to 4 inches in length, but if they're protecting their nest, they're going to come and try to nip at you, especially if you're wearing black or a dark suit. Some fish will actually hide their eggs. So like bamboo sharks, they hide the eggs. They try to bury them into the reef structure so other things can't find them. And some fish will actually carry the eggs. Here's our male seahorse, little champion. He's going to actually carry the fertilized eggs in that pouch on his belly until they hatch out. So mama seahorse produced the eggs, sperm fertilized them. She transfers them over to dad. Dad puts them in his pouch, carries those suckers around for a long, long time until they hatch out. When we're talking about internal fertilization, again, going back up to the viviparous or the ovoviviparous, the yolk in the egg case there is providing all that energy for that developing fish, pup in the case of sharks, and trying to give them a head start. So, again, that tiger shark, kind of a cool story to think about how these guys do this. And the viviparous ones, the young are born live. I mean, this is almost comparable to mammals when we look at mammals giving live birth, because they take care of those eggs and the young develop inside of the body of the mammal until it's mature enough to survive on its own. Okay, so overall, here's a big table, some of the most important characteristics of marine fish. Their distinguishing features, their skeleton, feeding, reproductive, and general ecology. So definitely a cool table to work with. And we talked about hagfish, lampreys, rays. Don't worry about the skates, but the rays. And we want to talk about stingrays. We'll see them, the sharks. Don't worry about the ratfish here. It's the group we're not going to focus on. The bony fish, and then don't worry about the coelacanths. So you guys can kind of take care, X out that one, X out that one. But definitely make sure you're comfortable with the rest of the important characteristics of the marine fish.